Hey everybody, and welcome to today's video lecture on writing an effective cover letter. Now, not surprisingly, in this video lecture, we will discuss how you can write an effective cover letter. But before we dive into tips on that topic, we first should consider what a cover letter is and what it's good for. Now, you can use a cover letter for a variety of purposes, but perhaps most importantly, you can use it for this purpose. You can use it to make your resume come alive. At the end of the day, no matter how effective or how well crafted your resume may be, it's just a list of your professional accomplishments. And as such, it's difficult for your reader to get a sense of who you are or how those accomplishments fit together in a holistic fashion. Your resume gives you an opportunity to describe just that, to paint a picture of how all of your experiences and accomplishments unite to make you a uniquely valuable candidate. Similarly, your cover letter gives you an opportunity to craft a narrative linking your experiences to the job. Sometimes it's not apparent how your experiences or accomplishments or qualifications make you such a good candidate for the job. In the cover letter, you can make a persuasive case for how your heterodox set of qualifications and experiences make you perfect. Thirdly, you can use your cover letter to connect with your prospective employer's culture and industry. You can describe how your values, for instance, align with the values of the company that you're applying to, or how your personal priorities align with the priorities of the industry that you're applying to work in. And lastly, and I would be remiss in my duties as a writing instructor if I didn't say this, your cover letter gives you an opportunity to demonstrate your writing skills. Most jobs don't ask for a writing sample, but many of them may ask for a cover letter. And given what we know about the importance of strong writing skills to prospective employers, you want to use this opportunity to demonstrate those strong writing skills. Now, let's talk about how you can actually craft an effective cover letter. And the first thing that you need to do to craft an effective cover letter is research your prospective employer. You want to understand what your prospective employer is all about, what they're up to at the moment, how they're perceived by the broader public, so that you can craft the most tailored cover letter possible. You can do your research, of course, in a variety of different ways and using a variety of different resources. Of course, you want to start with the company's website. You want to see how the company portrays itself and its own initiatives and priorities to the wider world. You can then pivot to the UF library and visit some of our third-party websites that we subscribe to, things like Glassdoor, that might give you some insight into how current and former employees perceive what it's like to work at the company you're applying for. You want to read industry news to find out how the media and the broader public perceives your prospective employer. And finally, you want to network with people who already work there. One of the many benefits of being a Warrington student is that Warrington has strong recruiting relationships with a number of companies. And so that means that any company that you're applying to work for, there's a decent chance that somebody else who has gone through your program before you is working at that company already. Make the most of that connection. Set up a phone call, send some texts, find out from that person what it's like to work at this company, and see if they have any tips for you that might make your application more tailored or more successful. Once you've done that research, you then want to follow the following 4 cover letter tips. First, you want to write a strong, summative opening paragraph. This strong summative opening paragraph should have the following elements. It should open with a statement of application, a sentence or a couple sentences where you specifically say, I am writing to apply for this position, or please consider my application for the role of XYZ. You then want a summary of your connection to the reader. If you don't have a connection to the reader, if you haven't spoken to a recruiter, if you don't have a former classmate who works at that company, if you don't know somebody in a higher level administrative position, then don't worry about this element. But if you do have a personal connection to the employer, make sure that you emphasize it. Third, you want to include an overview of your professional identity. In other words, you want to include a sentence or two that highlights where you are in your educational career, what your major is, and maybe some key highlights of your work or volunteer experience. And then finally, you want to include a mapping statement that links your skills to the job ad. In other words, you want to preview the main points, the main qualifications that you're going to organize your cover letter around, and you want to make sure that those key points and qualifications align with the requirements of the job. Now, here's an example of a sample opening paragraph. At the top, we've got a statement of application. I am applying to your internal audit internship in Tampa. Then we have a statement of connection to the reader, which in this case continues from the sample sentence that we just read, which I learned about while speaking with Chip Keller at the University of Florida Career Week. We then have a summary of the applicant's professional identity. I am currently a second-year accounting student at the University of Florida, where I hold a leadership position in the Gator Auditing Society. And then finally, we have a mapping statement outlining our main points and how they connect with the qualifications for the position. I appreciate MetLife's commitment to growing in response to an evolving insurance industry, and I am certain my prior experience at Company X and my coursework at the University of Florida make me a perfect fit for this internship opportunity. Once you've opened your cover letter with a strong introductory paragraph, you then want to move on to our second tip. You want to write well-structured, reader-focused body paragraphs. And these body paragraphs should correspond both in number and in order to the elements that you introduced in your mapping statement from the end of your introductory paragraph. More specifically, your body paragraph should have these elements. You should have a strong paragraph head that not only summarizes the purpose of the paragraph, but connects it back to the overall purpose of the document. You should have concrete, ideally quantifiable links between your experience and the requirements of the job that you're applying to. You want to have keywords from the job ad, in this case, not necessarily to satisfy a computer algorithm, but nevertheless to demonstrate your familiarity with the job and its requirements. And finally, you want to have clear paragraph feet. Now, previously in our conversations around cohesion, we've said that you only need paragraph feet when you're concluding a particularly lengthy or complex paragraph. In general, that is true. But in the case of cover letters, even if the paragraph that you're concluding is relatively short, relatively straightforward, you still want to include a paragraph foot just because our readers tend to be very distracted, and we want to take every opportunity that presents itself to re-emphasize our key points and the structure of our document. Now, with those tips in mind, let's look at a sample body paragraph. This sample body paragraph begins with a strong paragraph head that summarizes the purpose of the paragraph and connects it back to the overall purpose of the document. My internship experience at Company X has prepared me to thrive in the internal audit division. We then have a sentence that contains some keywords from the job ad. At company X, I learned to gather client audit evidence and create process flow charts. And client audit evidence and process flow charts are good examples of the kinds of phrases that might be keywords depending upon the needs of the job that you're applying to. You then have a sentence with concrete links between the applicant's experience and the requirements of the job. For instance, I helped with specific task, whatever that might be, by collecting evidence from a specific number of people, note that quantitative evidence there, and collating that information for audit. Then lastly, we have a summative paragraph foot. Because of my work, specific task, whatever that task may be, was a success, and I developed some of the analytic skills that MetLife needs from its auditors. Now, you want to include a strong body paragraph, as we mentioned earlier, for every element that you introduced in your mapping statement. And throughout your document, you want to follow tip 3, which is writing with confidence and avoiding hedging and conditionals. Now, previously in our conversations around concision, we talked about the importance of avoiding hedging phrases, things like I think, I wish, I believe, etc., etc. Those phrases tend to be wordy and they tend to make your language sound more squishy. Avoiding them is particularly important in a cover letter where you want to come across as confident as possible. You don't want to come across as arrogant, of course, but you do definitely want to come across as somebody who is confident in their abilities and who can get the job done. And then lastly, we arrive at our 4th tip, which is this. You want to close by reaffirming your connection to the company you're applying to work for. And you can do so by requesting an interview. You can do so by offering next steps, and you can do so by reconnecting to common ground. And here's how you might do that in a sample concluding paragraph. You can start out by requesting an interview, a phrase like, I look forward to scheduling an interview with you soon so we can further discuss my fit with the MetLife Internal Audit Department in Tampa. You can then offer specific next steps. You can reach me by phone, include your phone number, Monday through Friday before 11 a.m. and after 4 p.m., or anytime by email at email address. And then you can close by reconnecting to common ground. Thank you for this opportunity to grow with a company that is evolving to meet the needs of tomorrow. And that's how you do it. That's the basic structure and the 4 basic tips that you want to follow while crafting your cover letter. There's 2 other quick points that I want to emphasize. First, as you may have noticed, cover letters are basically just persuasive messages with a few unique peculiarities. Now, this is not coincidental. As we discussed earlier, cover letters basically provide an opportunity for you to make a persuasive case for why you are such a good fit for the job you're applying for. All right? So don't feel like you need to reinvent the wheel when you are creating a cover letter. You can, and in fact should, use many, if not all, of those persuasive techniques and appeals that we've talked about earlier when crafting your cover letter. The other point I want to make is this, that cohesion is key when you're crafting a cover letter. Because our audiences tend to be very busy, because they tend to be very distracted, we want to make the structure of our cover letter as plain and apparent as possible. We want to make sure that even if our audience is moving through our cover letter very quickly, that our structure and our main points are so apparent that they cannot miss them. And to achieve that, we need to have strong cohesion. That's why throughout we emphasized, the mapping statement, the strong paragraph heads, the paragraph feet, etc., etc. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of this video lecture. As always, thanks for watching.